What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to Inside Man United. My name is Rowan Brennan, and we've got a bit of a double combo episode today. We're going to do some daily news and a little bit of a look ahead to United's Carabao Cup defence against Newcastle United. But first, coming up in the news, United and a host of other Premier League elites are going after Marc Guehi of Crystal Palace. United are going to complete a Bissaka contract U-turn ahead of the January transfer window. Ten Hag is now transferring his focus overseas. Will he be dipping his toe in the Dutch market yet again? Rio Ferdinand makes bold claim about Jude Bellingham. And we look ahead to some injury news for United's clash against Newcastle United. We also have a quick look ahead at my predicted lineup and how I think we're going to fare after the disappointment against Manchester City. All that coming up. How you doing, everyone? And United kicking off a new week, a new month, a new tournament, and hey, hopefully a fresh start for Ten Hag and his men, and possibly a little bit of rotation going on with the squad ahead of the clash with Newcastle. Huge disappointment, obviously, after the Man City game, with a massive amount of pressure and attention now being placed on Ten Hag, the likes of which I don't think anyone foresaw, given how well he did last year under incredibly difficult circumstances. But it seems that with enough pressure and enough, I suppose, circus action is enough to break any man. And it looks like there is the pressure piling on top of the United boss in what is clearly second season syndrome. But before we get into the pre-match kind of, I suppose, lineup and injury news, we're going to have a little look at the paper talk now and see what is going on in the world of United with regards to transfers. So, what do the fine bastions and pillars of sporting literary prowess have in store for us today? So we're looking at United, Arsenal, Chelsea, City, all vying for Marc Guehi. I don't know what City are doing in this little quandary, because they've got all the centre halves playing entirely across their backline. So I don't know what City are doing in there, or Chelsea, by the way. They've got a million defenders, but it does look like Chalobah and a few of them are on the way out. But United certainly in need of defensive reinforcements, with a whole host of different centre halves from overseas being linked with the club. But obviously English defenders is something that we've had a little bit of a track record in signing, with the likes of Harry Maguire, Shaw, and Bissaka, and a whole host of other ones as well. So Phil Jones. So let's get into this here. So United face up to a five-way battle if they want to sign Marc Guehi. They're saying he's going to cost anywhere between 40 and 60 million quid. Guehi's a fine defender, but I just don't fancy it, to be honest. I think we can get better overseas for less, younger profile. And to be honest, I'm a little bit suspect of English defenders and their defending. It even took John Stones about 3 or 4 years to get his shit together at City. So I just very good going forward. Trent, Kyle Walker is one of the finest right backs, but in terms of centre halves and things like that, I'm just not sold on English centre halves at the moment, and haven't been for a very long time. So a new centre back is one of Eric Ten Hag's priority positions. Obviously, when you see what lined up against City on the weekend, I mean, even if City or Arsenal or Chelsea had a dearth of injuries across their backline, I don't think you would be seeing that kind of desperation in their squad that you see with United. Maybe I'm being unkind. It is an awful string of luck with regards injuries, but Jesus Christ, what a bad situation United were in at the weekend. First choice pairing, Martinez and Varane, have again faced fitness issues this term, leaving United to rely on Johnny Evans and Harry Maguire. So one man who could fit the bill is Guehi, who has seriously impressed during his time at Crystal Palace, become a regular at Gareth Southgate's England squad. 23, good age profile. I don't see this guy going for less than kind of 50, 60 million quid, a Wan-Bissaka kind of money. And yeah, I mean, if he had his choice of City, Arsenal, Chelsea or United, I don't see him going to United, if I'm being honest. You'd be better off going to one of the London clubs because A, it's London, and B, it's not United. And I just don't think City will be in for him. They've got plenty of... he wouldn't be starting against City unless they're planning on getting rid of another, marquee signing. According to The Sun, Arsenal, the front runners with Arteta, seeing Guehi as part of his long-term plans, ready to wait to secure his signature. I don't know who he replaces. I don't know who's leaving Arsenal. They have a pretty good backline, and I don't see any of them leaving anytime soon. Certainly not for the kind of money that they'd have to pay for Guehi. They've got more than enough in that backline. So, yeah, they go on to say here, City could be tempted to make a move in January. Of course, they're not going to make a move in January. Not for that kind of money that they'd need after they've just bought Vardiol. Palace are expected to demand a humongous fee. What a great word. Haven't seen that in a newspaper, I think, ever, for their star centre-back, which is expected to dwarf the 50 million they received for Wan-Bissaka. It's going to dwarf the 50 million. Yeah, I'm not paying that for Guehi. I think United need to be a little bit more intelligent in the market and not going after whatever English flavour of the month is batting their eyelids towards United's accountants. So I'd prefer to go overseas. Guehi, good player, but not for me, Jeff, if you don't mind. And talking about Aaron Wan-Bissaka, United complete Wan-Bissaka contract U-turn. So you may have heard a couple of weeks back, United had been suitably impressed with Wan-Bissaka that they wanted to extend his contract. But now there is information swirling that Wan-Bissaka is getting into the final year of his contract, and rather than offer him a new deal, United are just going to extend it by 12 months. Pretty much a wait and see. Obviously, given his injury now, I'd say United are not exactly chomping at the bit to sign another English centre half or defender who's got potential injury troubles. Clearly, we've had massive problems with the likes of Tuanzebe, Bailly, Phil Jones. We've now got Varane, Martinez. The last thing we need to do is to tie down Wan-Bissaka to a long-term contract on probably big money when he could be another long-term injury worry for United. So actually, this is quite shrewd. I agree with it. I hope Wan-Bissaka does come back to full fitness. I've really enjoyed watching him progress this season and turn into the player he has become. But yeah, I think this is a shrewd move. Okay, lots of ads here. So according to the Daily Mail, talks to agree fresh terms with Wan-Bissaka have gone quiet, and United are instead likely to activate the extension in his contract until June 2025. However, it is claimed the situation will be revisited in the new year as they look to tie down the right back long term. Mightn't be good news for Dalot if they're in the market for right backs and they're going to be tying down Wan-Bissaka. But to be honest, if we could get 30-40 million for Dalot, I'd take it, if I'm being honest. If United do trigger Wan-Bissaka's extension, he will not be able to talk to teams outside of the United Kingdom over a pre-contract arrangement. Wan-Bissaka has only just returned to training after missing 9 matches. Luke Shaw and Malacia both missed a considerable amount of time. Blah, blah, blah. We know all of that. Speaking before a side trip to Sheffield United, Ten Hag said of the former Crystal Palace star, for instance, Aaron Wan-Bissaka, I don't think he's too far away from returning into team training and so back into the team. He's made 165 appearances for the Red Devils. And United returned to action against Newcastle. Obviously, he's not going to make it back for that. So, yeah, Wan-Bissaka, I think it's going to be a case of wait and see how that injury plays out long term. Is it just a kind of temporary niggle, or is this something that could rear its ugly head again? United don't have much luck in that department. So, shrewd move, boys. A rare shrewd move, but one I definitely welcome. Right. Ten Hag turns on duo as Man United switch transfer focus back to 40 million defensive standout. So, there he is there. Mr. Denzel Dumfries again, his name being linked with United all summer when United were being linked with all the right backs when Wan-Bissaka and Dalot weren't really being trusted. Of course, that has changed, but you don't know who to believe these days. With his injury, Dalot, he has been playing reasonably well recently, but he's kind of been a bit of a utility man. Do I want Dalot to be our kind of right back for the next 5-6 years? No. Do I think he's kind of one of the best in class as a right back in the league? No. Does okay for Portugal, but international duty is different than club duty. So United boss Erik ten Hag has reportedly grown frustrated with the 2 Old Trafford stars and is ready to upgrade the right back position as a result. I would certainly think there are other areas of the team that require attention before right back, given we have 2 players there that are doing reasonably all right. And yeah, if it costs 40 million to get Dumfries, I would much rather see that being invested in another striker, maybe another midfielder, another attacking forward, another centre half. But yeah, I think right back would be low down on the list if I'm being perfectly honest. But it appears Ten Hag has lost trust with 2 players in one position, judging by reports coming out of Italy anyway. Italy, an absolute hive of journalistic honesty. So I think we can take this with a giant pinch of salt. Calcio Mercato reports that United renewed their interest in Inter Milan's Denzel Dumfries, yet another Dutch player. Shocker. So the report states that the Netherlands international's athleticism and physicality would make him a perfect fit. Yeah, because Dalot and Wan-Bissaka aren't athletic and physical. But Denzel Dumfries is quite a big boy. He's 27. And despite already having long-term Real Madrid target, Reece James is their #1 position. Yeah, Chelsea are in for him as well, it would seem. So, yeah, United in the market for a right-back, potentially. Maybe just keeping an eye on Wan-Bissaka's injuries. Let's see what happens. Right, Rio Ferdinand makes claim about real reason Jude Bellingham rejected Man United transfer. So if ever you were frustrated with Bruno Fernandes, you're going to be even more frustrated with Bruno Fernandes now. So Ferdinand has claimed that United missed a golden chance to sign Bellingham by failing to offer him first-team football. Apparently, when United were coming in for him, he was interested in actually moving before he went to Dortmund, and we couldn't guarantee him first-team football, which you might say is fair enough at the time. 18, 19, we had Bruno Fernandes. But when you look at what Bruno's been like for the last 2 years, listen, I think Bruno's a decent player. He's a decent footballer, but he is a problem at United. And some people think that's heresy. But, you know, I see him really causing as many problems as he does provide solutions. And he is not a captain, if I'm being honest. But I think it's from a lack of options rather than him being the standout choice. And that says even more about our squad, which is another story altogether. So the 20-year-old is arguably the hottest property in the game right now. Of course, he just won the under-21, I think it's the Copa Award at the recent Ballon d'Or celebration, where Messi yet again stole another Ballon d'Or because he has nude pictures of the Ballon d'Or committee on Epstein's Island. I'm pretty sure that's true. Indeed, his stellar display since his summer move from Dortmund saw him awarded the Copa Trophy at Monday's Ballon d'Or for best player aged under 21. And Ferdinand goes on to say, God, these ads are just cruel. Okay, how many times do I need to see that ad? And a host of England's top 5 clubs, including United, have been left to rue not striving harder to sign him before he opted to move to Germany. Now, ex-United defender Ferdinand has risked enraging fans. He goes, do you know what I heard it was? He wanted some assurances about being a first-team player, and United weren't willing to give him those assurances. That's what I heard from a very good source. He wasn't given assurances of being around the first team, and he said, you know what? I know my worth. I know my value, and if you don't value me the way I see myself, I'm going to have to jog on and go to another club. It's kind of worked out all right for Mr. Bellingham. He's wearing that Zidane #5 on his back with a huge amount of bravery and skill, and is busting the back of the net for Madrid from midfield. And man, he looks like an absolute gift. So a new treasure for football fans to enjoy watching over the next well, at least hopefully the next 15, maybe even 20 years. And yeah, I've seen the highlights of what he's been doing over in Madrid. The kid's an absolutely phenomenal player. He is without doubt, even at his young, tender age now, the best player in the England team. I would say ahead of Kane. I think what he brings is just absolutely fantastic. So yeah, he's fully justified rejecting the notion of a bit part at Old Trafford. He's gone and done what he's gone and done that, and he's turned around and gone and done, gone. Good God. Fantastic grammar there. Anyway, finally, we're going into injury news ahead of the United clash with Newcastle. Obviously, United at home defending their League Cup trophy against a high-flying Newcastle. So some information here on returning players after featuring for the under-19s last Tuesday. Kobbie Mainoo was an unused substitute against City following his ankle injury, and he looks to be getting some minutes. I would love to see him start the game, or at least get some minutes in the second half. I'm a little bit torn on this game because I think it's important United get a win under their belt, but at the same time, I could give two shiny shits about the League Cup, the FA Cup, and even the Champions League at this stage. I think the best thing that can happen United is we're not going to win the Champions League. It's just going to be more fixtures to get in the way. Obviously, for pride's sake, we want to get out of the group and have a little bit of a run and enjoy those Champions League nights and hearing that music. But really, I think we could benefit from being out of every single competition bar the Premier League, because we need to secure fourth. We're not going to get fourth from the looks of things. There's 9 teams going for 4 positions. And with our injury crisis, the form of the club, the way everything is going, I would gladly welcome a reduction in our fixture list of 20% and get our team as fit and rested as possible to mount a serious charge on the top 4 for the Premier League. I've looked at a few other channels and people are kind of looking to their predicted 11s would be quite strong. I would field a reasonably weak 11 in this game, just to kind of get some fitness up on some more periphery players that maybe haven't been in the team, to give other players a bit of a run out, get them back up to fitness, and to not risk our existing squad of any more injuries going into the games that we need to win, which are the Premier League games. Might sound a little bit defeatist, but to be honest, I think strategically that is the only way to approach this. Casemiro, potential return date November 1st against Newcastle. It looks like he could be ready for that. Could be a good opportunity to get him back into fitness, maybe give him the first half, so I can understand maybe getting him back just to get him up to speed and make sure he's not going into the next match cold. Bissaka, again, November 1st, looking to come back. Shaw, 26th. Malacia, again, in November at some stage. Lisandro Martinez, January, and Amad Diallo, unknown. So, yeah, a welcome return for Kobbie Mainoo. Looking forward to seeing him come back. I think it's going to be a good opportunity to get Mejbri some minutes under his belt. He hasn't been getting many games recently, even with all the injuries that have been happening. And to be honest, when I've seen him play, he's been one of the better midfielders I've seen this year. So without further ado, I'm going to get into my predicted lineup. I don't think this is going to be what the predicted lineup will be, and I will say what I think Ten Hag is going to do. But I'm going to show what my 11 would be, given the landscape that we have in front of us, the form of the club, the types of players we need to get back up to speed, and more importantly, the type of players that we have to protect. This would be my predicted 11. Okay, so in goals, I would keep Andre Onana. Part of me wants to bring in Altay Bayindir because I think he's going to need to get minutes under his belt. It's pretty clear that Onana is going to go to the AFCON, and I'd like to see Bayindir getting a few minutes under his belt in matches that, to be honest, I think are pretty inconsequential. But Onana's he's starting to find form again and a little bit of confidence. And I think it's important that we keep that run of form going, and hopefully he can just build and grow on that confidence in this game and bring that into the next set of Premier League fixtures. So Mr. Onana going in at the goalkeeper spot. At left back, I'd have Reguilon, just because we need to get some minutes under his belt. He came in, obviously, at the end against City for a few minutes when it was already too late. I think he should have started that game. But listen, it's been done to death that Ten Hag made a massive, massive error in his defensive lineup. He seems to be sticking to his guns, and, you know, fair play, but that was a mistake. I'd have Reguilon come in, if anything, just for 45 minutes in the first half, just to get things going, settle everything down, see how he's playing. If he's feeling okay, maybe give him the full 90, get him back up to speed. But I think it's important we get him, you know, some minutes under his belt after his injury. In the centre half positions, to be honest, I would not be risking Raphael Varane at all. So for me, I would be putting in Johnny Evans and Harry Maguire yet again. I want them to play deep. Newcastle do press quite a bit. I think we would benefit from having Varane in there. Maybe give Varane the first half just to get some minutes under his belt, calm everything down like Reguilon. But I just want to protect Varane. I want to wrap him up in cotton wool between now and the end of the season and not put any miles on his clock that he doesn't need to have. I think he is going to play the game, but I wouldn't play him. I would just run Harry Maguire and Johnny Evans into the ground. And, you know, this is what they're in the squad for, to play these less meaningful games. So I would have Harry Maguire and Johnny Evans at centre half, at least for the first half. And at right back, I would have Victor Lindelof. It's going to be a busy game for those fullbacks because there's going to be a lot of pressure. Newcastle like to press. Kieran Trippier is going to be bombing up and down that wing. Reguilon might be able to exploit some of the space behind Trippier. He is going to be coming forward and advancing quite a bit, and he will leave a little bit of space behind him. So I think we should be able to take advantage of that, especially with Reguilon, who also likes to bomb forward. So for me, I would be keeping an eye on those wide channels, because that's where Newcastle are usually quite dangerous. They're dangerous everywhere, but their fullbacks are very good, particularly with Kieran Trippier. I mean, he's at the center of so much that they create. In the midfield, I would be bringing Sofian Amrabat into the fold. Just because we need to get more minutes under his belt. He's not someone I think we need to protect. I think he's someone we need to bed into the team, get fitness up, get used to the style of play, get used to playing with his peers and his colleagues. So Sofian Amrabat 100% gets the nod. Because I think Newcastle are going to be coming in to win this, because remember, Newcastle, while doing well in the league, and they've got Champions League commitment, I think they're enjoying this kind of fixture list, and it is an opportunity for them to win some silverware. And I see Eddie Howe taking this cup reasonably seriously, if anything, just to get some silverware into the cabinet in Newcastle. I mean, they've been barren of a trophy for so long, so I don't think he's going to be treating this as an inconvenience. This is definitely an opportunity. They're going to attack a lot, and they're very good at that. I would love to see Amrabat and Hannibal Mabry playing together and anchoring the midfield. I just want to see those two run their arses into the ground, get some fitness up, enjoy wearing the shirt, and enjoy playing with each other and their teammates, and just get used to, parading around Old Trafford in those midfield positions, because I think they're going to need to be called upon at various points of this season. Mason Mount, I want to see him as the number 10. That's where I want to see him. That's where he needs to play. He was a number 10 at Chelsea, or he played on the left. These are Bruno and Rashford's positions, our most important players. I still don't understand why we signed Mount. I know he was brought in to be kind of like a number 8, to replace the aging Christian Eriksen, who towards the end of last season was showing his age and his tiredness, and he wasn't able to quite do it as well as he did at the beginning of the season. When people brought Mount, or when Ten Hag brought Mount in, we were like, okay, he's going to be coming in for Eriksen. That's what he did at the beginning of the season, and it was woefully bad. It didn't work. This high press, it left Casemiro isolated. But I think with Mabry and Amrabat anchoring the midfield and maybe covering a little bit of space that our fullbacks will be leaving behind, I would have I'd have Mason Mount in as number 10. I also think he needs to get an assist and some goals under his belt. We need to get some momentum. He needs game time. He needs minutes. And he also needs a bit of a confidence boost. So I'd love to see him get an assist or a goal in this game. And I can't remember whether I said Diogo Dalot or Victor Lindelof in at right back. I would actually have Lindelof in at right back, just because he can come in at centre half if Johnny Evans or Harry Maguire pushes into the midfield to carry the ball, if that ever does happen. Also because I think Diogo Dalot needs a fucking rest. He just needs a bit of a break. He's been absolutely run into the ground, and we still need him. So I would be protecting Diogo Dalot, and I'd be having Victor Lindelof out in the right back position. So that's our midfield: Amrabat, Mabry, and Mason Mount in at the number 10. Out wide, I'd have Garnacho out left. I think it's very important that we get him a game from the very beginning. I think he needs to get used to putting in performances, starting games. We know how impactful he can be off the bench. The opportunities he has been given from the start, he hasn't really gotten his rhythm together, and this is a good opportunity for him to try and, find his most dangerous self from the very beginning. On the right-hand side, Anthony, not a player I rate, not a player I like. I think he's going to go down as one of United's worst ever transfers. I think it's 85 million flushed down the drain. I don't like his attitude. I hated the way he behaved at the Man City game. I don't like his face. I don't like his attitude. Everything about him just pisses me off. However, he is Ten Hag's man. He's just come back. He needs fitness. Another player that needs confidence and needs a goal. So we need to get him up to speed as well. So I'd love to see him get 45, 60 minutes under his belt, and maybe Pellistri coming in towards the end of the game just to get some minutes. Højlund, again, another player that needs some goals and needs to develop an understanding with the other players around him. And yeah, we just need to keep him on the clock, at least give him 45 minutes, 60 minutes, after which time I'd be bringing on Anthony Martial for the last half an hour just to protect Højlund. He does need minutes. He's young. He can take it. He can put some miles on his clock. He needs to develop an understanding and get used to wearing the badge and being under the Old Trafford lights. But we do have to manage his energy levels as well. He is young and he's quite bombastic the way he plays. In terms of the score, I think it will be 1-1 in this game. I do. However, it's difficult to call with my lineup. I don't think that's going to be the lineup. I think it's going to be Reguilon and Dalot out in the fullback positions for Ten Hag. I think it's going to be Varane and Maguire or Evans in at centre half. Probably Maguire. I think it'll be Varane and Maguire in at the centre half positions. I think he's going to play Casemiro, Amrabat. I think Mount is going to play number 10. And I think he'll have Garnacho, Anthony, and Højlund up front. So slight changes at the fullbacks and slight changes at the midfield. I think Casemiro is going to come in. Dalot's going to come in. And Varane's going to come in for Ten Hag. I'd be leaving those players on the bench. So that's it. What are your thoughts? How would you have the team line up? And what do you think the score is going to be tomorrow? Listen, I always love cup games. It's going to be a fun match to watch. To me, this is a bit of a gimme. I don't really care what the result is. If we get knocked out, I can certainly see silver linings on that. If we win, great. Good for the confidence. Good to come out of the game at the weekend with a win, particularly against Newcastle, who are a high-flying team and one of our rivals for a top 4 position. It'd be nice to beat them. I hope that if we do get beaten, it's not going to cause this, disastrous air of doom and gloom around the club, which it probably will with the help of the British press. But for me, this is a bit of a nothing game. I don't care about the League Cup this year. It was good last year to break our trophy drought, but now that we've done that, I'd be happy to see the back of this competition as well as the FA Cup, so we can concentrate on the league and rest our players. But I'm hoping we do put in a good performance and we get a good result. So I'm going to say 1-1. What happens afterwards in extra time and penalties, I don't know. But after 90 minutes, I believe it's going to be 1-1, and we'll see what happens after that. Thank you very much for tuning in. I really do appreciate it. If you do like this content and you want to keep supporting this channel, please hit that like button, hit subscribe, hit the notification button as well, so you'll get notifications when new episodes come out, just in case the old algorithm doesn't do me any favors. And listen, enjoy the game, have a good evening, and yeah, I'll see you on the next one.